The homepage has metrics for materials invoiced last 30 days, has all of my active repair orders, has some graphical metrics plotted over a 30-day period. And for every material and for every RO total, we make a distinction between the realized cost and the billable amount. So realized cost is cost to me when I purchase through distribution. Billable amount is manufacturer list. The whole system is based on list pricing, plus whatever markup I have applied to the RO, my choice. We recommend, industry standard 25%. So that's markup on list versus my price. No one's entitled to your discount. You get a markup for procurement and warranty. There's labor and liability associated with ordering the stuff, checking it in, putting it up on the shelf, and then warrantying it for the life of the repair. So the whole system is based out of a digital inventory, and this inventory is based on what you use. So every one of our accounts, this page looks different. This is just based loosely on my home garage outside. And the benefits of the system is it's agnostic to materials category and material manufacturer. So you could do body materials, paint materials, clips, and hardware with this system, and you could do it from one make, another, or 5 makes all at the same time for the same category. So totally agnostic. It's literally just whatever you buy and whatever you use. We don't care as long as you get paid for it. So my inventory has 3D cutting compounds and polishes. I've got 3M abrasives and tapes. I've got the Cubitron line. I've got the whole 3M set for aerosols, cartridges, seam sealers, panel bonds. I've got mixing tip nozzles, PPS liners and lids, Trizac discs, file belts, grinding discs. For my paint line, I'm on Axo Noble, so I've got the Sickens line for primers, sealers, clears, activators, reducers, epoxies, basically everything but the individual tints and toners, because this system bills by price category, and I'll show you how that works in just a minute. I've got Dent Fix for my dent studs, spot weld bits. I've got Kemperly private label items, so we carry some of the white labels for certain vendors, especially the bigger ones. Norton, PDQ clips and hardware, so I've got a bunch of clips and hardware from them, and some SEM aerosols and cartridges again. Now, if I wanted to add new stock to my inventory, all I have to do is hit track new, and I can pull up the EagleMMS database. These are all the manufacturers that we carry list price sheets for, and then billing structures for their part numbers. So if I just bought U-Pole, I could type in a part number, say, hey, you know what, I'm using some fiberglass filler. It'll pull up the product information. It'll pull up an average wholesale. This is just average. And it'll pull up a manufacturer list price. This is from U-Pole themselves. This checkbox tethers the part number in your account to our internal database so that anytime that manufacturer has a price hike, we roll up the list prices for you. So hit create, add it to inventory. Now, if I wanted to bill something to a job, I can hit 3 dots here, manual checkout, select one of my active ROs, select a quantity, and then send it up into the cloud on that invoice. That's how you bill one material. Now, while that flow is there, and sometimes it's necessary, if I had to bill materials one at a time for every job, I'd be here all day, because you're going to use hundreds of UPCs on a large volume of vehicles. So this is where we develop some additional tooling to make people's lives a lot easier in operation kits. So in op kits, I can cluster my part numbers at quantity into kits. And the beauty of this field is I can determine what the kit is for, what part numbers I need for that kit, and then what the quantities of those part numbers are. So my favorite example, this is just my generic quarter panel replacement kit. I've got 34 materials in my kit, and my list on it pre-markup is $416.85. That's just to get a quarter on a car in sanded primer installed. This is pre-paint, pre-markup. So let's see what I got in this kit. If I hit edit here, you'll see I've got my file belts, fillers, blocking papers, panel bonds, 1K and 2K seam sealers, mixing tip nozzles, strip discs, cut discs, grind discs, spot weld bits, minutes on the trigger, MIG welding, weld throughs, primer and activator, and some refining grids. Now, if I ever wanted to make changes to the composition of this kit, I could just hit the drop down. This pulls up my APL from the previous tab, my inventory. I can select a part number, add to kit, in this case, car bag. Maybe I want to bag my car for all the abrasive and grinding process. And let's say I need, 15 feet to bag off part of the car. When I hit update operation kit, it's going to save that configuration, and I could use it. As it's configured. Now, we make a basic 30 operation kits when we set up shop. So we'll make different op kits for structural installs, different size dents, scratch and chip repair, bumper repair, door skins, roof skins, bedsides. Door skins should price you into a new door every single time, which is part of the point. Chip guard application, etc. So we set up all 30 of these kits, but you can create as many more as you want, just blank form, same as the edit page. And I could also duplicate existing kits. So if I have a quarter panel kit that I want to make something more specifically suited to a certain OE, like BMW, Tesla, Mercedes, I could duplicate the kit and then change out the part numbers and modify the quantities as per that OE's recommendation. That's just a fast pathway to duplicate a kit without having to make it from scratch every single time. So yeah, these get set up, inventory gets set up. Jay is on the call. You could thank him. He takes care of all of that. Thank God. Next tab, materials calculator. So everything I've shown you up until this point is basically configuration, and it gets set up for you as part of our onboarding process. The materials calculator is the page where everything sort of comes together, and I could bill everything I need for a job all on one page. So just for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to make a little dud RO. We decode VINs per NHTSA's database. I just don't have a VIN handy on me right now, so I'm going to make this one manually. So let's say we're working on a 22 BMW X5. And when I put in a year, make, model, it's going to populate a list of available paint codes for that year and make. If I hit something like 668 jet black, the system knows it's a 2-stage. If I select an A96, the system knows it's a 3-stage. And it's pricing the cost of base as per that configured line. So if any of you have ever purchased premix from your vendor, it'll come in a stamped can ready to spray. It'll say suffix code A, B, C, D on the side, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's exactly the same way we price the base. It's like the list price basically of base coat, because you can mix it on your bank cheaper than anyone could buy it for. So that's all we're getting at there. So I'm going to put this as 668, 2-stage. Have some options here for if I have to flatten my clear, add two-tone, it'll populate a field for a second base coat code. And if I'm epoxying my panel backsides, which I am. So I'm going to hit create repair order. And then it's going to populate this diagram of a vehicle based on what vehicle model I select. And we have a couple different ones, and we have a couple more coming. So this is my large SUV. So this diagram is programmed to allot all of my paint materials between prep and polish, not just fluids. So scuff pads, DA papers, masking tapes, masking papers, foam tapes, sealer, base, clear, wet sanding discs, buffing and polishing compounds, all at relative quantity depending on the refinish level that I select, and then the dimensions and surface area of that panel. So let's say for the purposes of this demo, I need to replace a quarter, repair a door, and blend a hatch, right? This is my job, my job scope. Down here, I have a structural view, so I can select other base clear refinish zones that aren't visible with the panels on. Not only do I epoxy backsides, I'm also a unicide guy, so I'm gonna blow the doors off, paint it up to the A color, just like the factory. Below that, I have accessory paint operations. So this is good for small parts painting that I can't render on the upper diagrams, like brackets, hinges, spray out cards. Let's say I'm doing some spray outs, even though this is a straight black, State Farm's gonna love me. So 2 spray out cards just for good measure. Operation kits. So this section renders from the previous tab. So if I build another 5 or 6 kits, I'll have another 5 or 6 selections here. This is all a reference to the mapping I have built for myself. So let's say for this particular job, I need a 2-hour dent for that door. I'm replacing my quarter panel, so I need my quarter kit. And if I'm not subletting my glass, I'm going to select my glass R&R kit or R&I kit. So there's my glass cut kit. My final section is hardware. So this has everything in my inventory that's categorized as hardware is going to render here. So let's say I've got a couple clips that I need. And when I hit apply materials calculator, it's going to compile that materials pathway and render me a total. And if I hit print draft invoice, I'm going to get an itemized bill for this job. So I've got shop info, vehicle paint diagram, 668 priced on the Sickens line with my markup is 31 cents per gram. The quantity is determined based on the selections that I've made to the body, surface area selections, panel, body model, and refinish level. And then everything else is an allotment of a part number out of my inventory. So my primers, my sealers, my clears, activators, reducers, gloves, razors, so fluids and non-fluid paint materials is what I call them. Propane burn on my booth, degreasers, masking tapes, masking papers, cutting and polishing compounds and pads, degradation on my booth filters, which I guess I've earned a lot of hate for that, right? No one's stocking out your booth filters for free. It costs money to get degraded with every paint job. I think you should get paid for. There's my paint subtotal. Down here, I have my body materials. So I've got coarse abrasives, cartridges, canisters, 1K, 2K seam sealers, everything by the manufacturer at quantity, at list price with my markup and elapsed total. So it's my op kit view. And then my hardware and miscellaneous stuff. I also have a couple options at this level of writing if I want to change the appearance of the invoice or if I need to edit or modify any individual line. So I'm going to show you both right now. In shop settings, I can choose first off to upload the logo for my business. I could choose a couple different rendering views. So I had it in op kit view right now. I'm going to do it in category view now. And I'm going to take my markup off of the invoice. So if I hit update information and then just hit refresh, you'll see a slightly different presentation. So back into categories and no markup column. If I wanted to modify the contents of any individual line, let's say there was an allotment from a kit or from the calculator that I don't like, I need to change the quantity or delete something for accuracy, I can go to repair orders, repair order details. I now have access to every individual line that composes that invoice. So materials used is going to be everything but the fluids. Paints used is going to have my fluids, my sprayables. So if I hit edit, I can modify the quantity here. Let's say I need 5 extra grams of base and I want to delete deflection paper. Let's say I didn't use deflection paper on this job. If I go back to the invoice and hit refresh again, you'll see the total roll over. That first line is what I set it to, so 1090 grams of base. And if I scroll down to the body section, no more deflection paper. So basically, I have full atomic control at every level of the invoice. I could choose what numbers I'm billing in my inventory. I could choose how those part numbers are sorted via operation kits. Materials calculator is really a tool for expedience and ease of use. I could select everything all on one page. But if I ever have to make any atomic changes, I could do so in repair order details. Another option we have, and this is specifically for Axo Nobel sprayers, we currently have an integration with Mixit Cloud. There's a reason I always do this job on a 22 BMW X5. That's because it's a real job from a shop in Texas, and I'm about to pull their import data. So if I hit import, it'll look for the RO number on Mixit Cloud that matches the RO number in Eagle, and it'll give me a comparison here of my estimated pour outs from EagleMMS versus my live pour outs from Mixit. And you can see here we're pretty close. Actually, Eagle overestimated by about $30 on fluids. But if I hit import and again go back to that invoice and hit refresh or re-render it from scratch, doesn't matter, you'll see the total roll over. And we now have a different presentation on the sprayables. So it'll have the Axo Nobel code, it'll have the layer and all of the subcomponents with all the subcomponent volumes and all of the data for the job. So, but everything else that wasn't a sprayable fluid, all my other non-scale paint materials and all my body materials, still the same. So those are just a couple tools we have available. We also have a very robust training tab. I have videos on best operations of the app, justification for our pricing model, common pushbacks you may hear from adjusters. I'm sure we're going to talk about this in just a minute. I also allow users to hit schedule training session, and this pulls up my Google Calendar. And users can book a time with me to go over either the app or anything they're dealing with carriers. I'm available to everybody that's a paying customer. We also have a document section. This is where that CCC article is. We have some links to some statutes and laws per state, some articles about the estimating platforms. This is one of our users in Texas. I actually didn't mention this before, but one of the things that eats into your P&M costs is panel adjacency deduction. So this is a whole analysis of panel adjacency deduction that, again, I can email out, or if you're a user, you could check it out inside the tab. We have a collision hub tab. Obviously, we're partnered up with Collision Hub. These are just a series of my favorite videos that they have on YouTube, and a link to some classes that I'd recommend personally. We also have a DEG and SCRS tab that has articles on the estimating platforms, how they tabulate material costs, why it's not included, and then DEG inquiries. If you guys haven't checked out DEG, it's a totally free resource. You could literally file inquiries against the data providers if you don't agree with the labor time, or if you're unsure whether or not something is included. So these are a bunch of inquiries specifically based around, is this material included or not? So if you haven't checked out DEG, definitely do that. We sponsor them proudly.